snowy outside, but it's warm in our pear barn.
Hello, this is David Davis with our winter horse care tips. One thing I want to talk about is you'll need to clean your horse's stall even during cold weather. And so to go in with a horse and clean their stall, I recommend to put a halter and a lead rope on your horse. Even if you don't use it, you don't think you're going to need it, you might need to take a hold of it to maneuver your horse. So I'm going to drape the lead rope over his neck. So then if I want him to step sideways, he should simply move over out of my way and then stay over there. And horses tend to crowd people, and so you have to train them to stay. So I have a hand signal I use so that when my hand's up, he's not approaching me, and he'll stay over there. While he's over there, I can clean this side of the stall. And then I should be able to maneuver him to the other side of the stall. Step over, step. Good. And he should stay over there on that side of the stall while I'm working here. And for horses to stay out of your space is difficult. You have to teach them that. Horses that we handle a lot tend to be friendly. They like to be in your space. They like to nose around and see what you're doing and stay close to you, which is wonderful. We want to encourage a close relationship and a bond between you and your horse. But at the same time, when you need them to step over, they should do it very obediently. All right, practice makes perfect. So you saw some very minor body language gestures that I just did. That's how I teach a horse to step out of the stall. One basic maneuver that I teach lots of people is that when you're leading your horse, I call it the stiff elbow maneuver. So I'm going to back him up. Good. Now, if I would ask him to come forward, and then when I ask him to stop, you pull back on your halter and stiffen your elbow and move the horse's head away from you. So then he becomes accustomed to stopping and staying over there. But horses tend to be in your space and in your business, and they like to crowd toward you. And see, he has a tendency to come toward me, but it's up to me to stiffen my elbow and move his head away, and then I can teach him to stay over there away from me. I do have a hand signal. When my hand is up, he knows that he shouldn't crowd toward it. But obviously, he's not afraid of my hands. It's been very gentle methods that I have instilled to him to watch my body language and to respect my body language. So now if I did stiffen my elbow and push his head away, he doesn't argue, he just moves it away. And then I could draw him back to me. And so that is an introduction to our liberty training, where I can send him out to maneuver around me, or I can call him to me when we're performing at liberty. So since he understands all that, it's really easy for him to catch on to my minor gestures. When I push his head over, he doesn't argue, he just lets me put it over there. And then when I draw him back to me, he brings it back to me. Very good. So there are some basic concepts of pressure and release. The horse should always move away from pressure. When they do, you give them a release, which is a reward for doing the right thing. And when you maneuver horses in that way so that they understand, they're very willing to please you. One thing is, when you're cleaning their stall, you need to be able to maneuver your horse out of the way, and you need to be able to do that safely. Some horses get feisty and they'll push into your space. They could even bite at you or kick at you, but you want to teach them to be more submissive and not allow any of that aggressive behavior. One thing is, a horse needs to be able to back up readily when you ask them. And so there are a few different signals that I give a horse to back up. One basic signal is that I would like to pull back on the halter. Okay, he should drop his chin and step backwards, and there should really be no argument about that. Very good. But not all horses are that well educated and know how to do that so well. So there is another body language maneuver that I tend to do when I want a horse to back up. And it's simply that I would put my arm in front of them, and I would actually push my elbow in a bend over their nose to ask them to step back. That seems to work so well. That is a body language that horses catch on to. When your arm is across their nose, they'll just step backwards, and they usually wouldn't argue against that, because horses have a tendency to move forward and be in your space, but you have to teach them to back. And when he heard that word, he probably started to think, oh, he's going to ask me to back up. So I simply push on their nose to ask them to step backwards. I normally would not push on their chest, because horses can argue and they can push. They could even try to jump upon you if you were under them, pushing on them otherwise. So you do need to signal them with their nose. That's why I say we should always have a lead rope and a halter on the horse while you're in the stall working with them, so that you can maneuver them well. Hello, this is David Davis with our cold weather horse care tips. And what I'm going to demonstrate is how to safely present a blanket to a horse and then put the blanket on the horse. Sometimes I think it's possible that a person would come toward the horse too quick with the blanket and scare them to start with, and then nothing's going to go well. So when I first present a strange object to a horse, I move the object away from them and let the horse follow it around, because when you come quickly toward the horse with a strange object, they're often scared of it. But in horse language, if the strange object moves away from them, then it's submissive, and that makes them feel dominant, and they'll usually lift their nose out and look at the strange object. And then once they seem okay with it, then the first thing I would do is lay it against their shoulder in a very smooth manner so it doesn't scare them. Interesting that he backed up. You know, that I did it a little too quick for his liking just then. So you do want to move slow and smooth, because he's not accustomed to wearing a blanket, and so this is a new experience for him. Good. So then I would tend to go to the other side and touch his shoulder with it. Very good. Now, this type of blanket is open in the front, so I'm going to lay it over his back, kind of like you would put a saddle over a horse. Very good. Okay, then I'll unfold it and make it bigger gradually as we go. As the bigger it is, the more surface area it covers, the more he sees, the more scary it would tend to be. Very good. Okay, so this is the kind that's closed and open in the front. So we do have to put it over his head. I'll demonstrate putting a blanket over the horse's head. And there we go. And so I'm fastening the buckle. It has two holes that keeps it secure, and there's a buckle there. And there that is. All right, so then I do recommend putting a halter on your horse before you start this process. When you come in a stall to clean it with the horse in there, I think you should put a halter and a lead rope on them. And when you're doing this, I think you should put a halter and lead rope so that you can maneuver your horse if you need to. And then we've got it fastened in the front, and now I'm going to reach under his belly to get the belly strap. And then there is a strap that goes around each leg. So we do those one leg at a time. And then I have the option here. I could walk around behind him to do the other strap, but I think it's safer to come in front of him, take a hold of the halter and steady his head and hold him still while I approach the other side of him to fasten this leg strap. All right, and now his blanket is securely put on him. So it has the belly strap and both leg straps, so it won't be moving around. One thing I was going to say is that when I put the halter on him, it was too big, so I took it up a hole. A lot of people don't really know how a halter should fit, and so the noseband of the halter should come just under these cheekbones. Horses have bones here on both sides of their cheeks, and that's where the halter should fit. Not sure why he's being a little fussy there, but it could be that he's concerned about the fact he has a blanket on. And as I mentioned, he's not accustomed to wearing a blanket. So one more thing that I think I'll do is, now that the blanket is on, I'll let him circle in the stall. And since I've got a hold of his nose, if he did get scared and he went running quick around the stall, I could channel the direction he goes in a circle around me so he's not running into me. So then I'd like to go the other way. I am actually placing my hand against his rib cage to send him in a circle around. All right. So that is our blanketing explanation. And next, we're going to do a blanket that's closed in the front and teach you how I would put it over a horse's head. Okay, so this is our cold weather horse care tips, and I'm going to demonstrate presenting a blanket that is closed in the front. So when you present a blanket to a horse, I like to move the scary object away from the horse. That seems to make them brave. If you come toward them with it too quickly, that seems to scare the horse. So when the object moves away from them, they seem more bold and brave about it. I do think you should have a halter and a lead rope on your horse when you do this. I'm going to lay the lead rope over his neck so it's there in case I needed to grab it. Then I'll put the blanket over his back first to let him see it and make sure he's not too scared of it. Now then, this type of blanket is closed in the front, so you don't have the option of putting it over his back and buckling around his neck. So we're going to want his nose to come down through it like this. I want to be careful not to put pressure on his ears. And so that went very smoothly. Then we'll unfold it and put the body of the blanket over his body. And see, it's closed in the front, so there's no buckle or anything to do there. Then we would put the girth under his belly and attach it. And then this strap goes around one leg. And then there's a strap around the other leg so that it should stay secure while he wears his blanket during the cold weather. All right, the topic of this video is going to be removing a blanket that's closed in the front so it has to come over his head. And I have seen people just take the whole thing up over the top of their head and it gets halfway and the horse is blind and they'll fling their head around, they can't see and so forth. So remember that it has a leg strap. So you would come over to this side and undo this leg strap. Then you go back to this side and undo this leg strap. And then there's a strap under the belly that needs to be undone. Then I would draw the whole body of the blanket toward me. So there's just the thin chest strap part that will go over the horse's head, and you want to do it slow and smooth and not put pressure on their ears and bring it off their head. And I do think any procedure like this that you do with your horse, you should put a halter and a lead rope on the horse so you can hold him still. I've seen people try to do this with the horse running around loose, and that just doesn't work well. And I would suggest, hey, you should put a halter and a lead rope on. And they always say, no, it's okay, he's used to me, this is what we go through every day. Well, you shouldn't go through a big emotional battle every day. Put a halter and lead rope on him so you can hold him still, and it will be quick, easy work that's not scary or emotional for your horse. Okay, more of our cold weather horse care tips. It's nice when your horse knows how to step sideways out of your way. In the stall, if you need to clean, you should be able to move your horse over to one side, you can clean this side, and then move your horse over to the other side, and then you can clean that area. And here's how I introduce teaching that. A horse should move away from pressure, and so I'll take a carrot stick and tap them and teach them to move sideways. And I call this the sending maneuver, so I can send him sideways that way. One cue that he's caught on to is that when I point the whip up, I want him to stop. Now when I point the whip down on this side, he knows that means that he should step sideways the other way. And then when I point the whip up, I want him to stop. So when a horse will readily step sideways out of your way, they're so nice to work with, and that also helps them yield to leg pressure better when you're riding them. So that's a basic maneuver that every horse needs to learn. And some horses that don't know that will do amazing wrong things. They'll shake their head and run backwards and rear and kick at you and bolt forward. And so when a horse simply will step sideways the way you request, they know they get a release, which is a reward for doing the right thing. And then step the other way. They know what a reward is in store when they do the right thing. It makes them very mellow and easy and obedient to work with. All right, more of our cold weather horse care tips. I'm going to do a maneuver that teaches the horse to yield to my carrot stick and move forward when I ask. So I say that when you draw a circle around your horse where the girth would go on your saddle, so it's just behind the front legs, we call that the drive line. And if I would reach back and point behind the drive line, the horse should come forward. Okay, and if I apply any pressure of any kind, I could pull on the halter, I could touch his shoulder with the handle of the whip, that all means go backwards. So pressure in front of the drive line means go backwards, and a gesture toward behind the drive line would mean come forward. Very good. So when horses will do that, it makes them very mannerly and easy to work with. You should practice the same things on both sides, so I'll do it on the other side. Now I'm going to point my carrot stick behind the drive line, and so he should come forward. Very good. Now I'm going to put a little pressure in front of him. I'll pull back on the halter. That's all it took for him to step backward very obediently. So those exercises help a horse become manageable so that it's easier to maneuver them in their stall, and any kind of maneuverability you want your horse to be able to do is based on those principles of yielding to pressure, and you need to apply pressure in certain ways that make sense to the horse. Here's one big tip I want to leave you with, and that is don't make the sound that means bolt forward fast when you want your horse to go backwards. And many people do that, and I've coached thousands of people not to make that sound that means charge forward fast when you want him to back up. So if I want him to back up, I'll say back, and he knows that. But if I make a cluck or a smooch sound, he knows that means come forward. And I've seen so many people fighting with the horse trying to make it back up, but they're clucking. And so the horse says, I hear that sound, and that means charge forward, but you're in my way, and you act like you want me to back up, but you're making that sound that means charge forward. And so that's such an emotional experience for a horse. So I think that will really help your interaction with your horse go better and more smoothly if you make a different sound that means go backwards, as opposed to the sound that means to go. We hope this series of videos has helped you have ideas about how to manage your horses safely during cold weather. Even though you might be stuck inside, there are still some maneuvers you can do, and you can develop your relationship with your horse so that you and your horse can form an even closer, stronger bond while you're stuck inside. But remember, they have more energy when they haven't been out to release that pent-up energy that they have from being stuck in a stall. So I hope we've shared some ideas with you that will help you manage your horses better and help them to be obedient, but also help them to enjoy their interaction with you, because I believe there should be a partnership between a horse and a person, and horses want to please you when they understand what you want them to do.
I thank God for giving me a dream to keep me living right, to give my life a purpose so I can find